Good afternoon. My name is John Pittle, and I'm Services CTO here at Riverbed. And part of my role at Riverbed is to help our customers get full value out of their investments in Riverbed solutions. And a lot of that has to do with people, process, some governance, strategy, and integration of our data into their day-to-day operational workflows, whether that's service management, incident management, problem and change management, capacity planning, business forecasting, really the full range of all the functions that an IT division is accountable for to the business. Our performance data is really relevant to all of those different workflows to support objective decision making, not only real-time service management, hey, are we delivering good service, but also decision management for how will, for example, how will the business be impacted if we move a location or we move a data center or we're moving to the cloud or we acquire a new business? Are we ready? Do we have enough capacity? Will there be an impact? So there's just a broad variety of workflows where our data is relevant. And so the rest of the session for today, we're really going to be focusing on some process, some use cases for the data. We're going to be highlighting some of the key data as we do that. We're going to be talking about some of our advanced analytics that are available today, as well as our thoughts and ideas about what we see as necessary for the future. So we've got some demos of that. We've got some process overviews. And I'm going to start this segment by introducing a troubleshooting taxonomy that we've been developing and working on with our customers. Since troubleshooting is a big part of how do we help a customer be successful, it's faster troubleshooting, it's restoring service quicker, it's being more proactive, even to the point where we hopefully can be preemptive and identify problems before an application even gets into production. So that's what's in store. This will be a pretty quick segment, and then I'll be handing over to Vince to talk about some of the advanced analytics that are related to this particular topic. So to get us started, I imagine this audience has heard the question from either management or other stakeholders of why in the world does it take IT so long to do troubleshooting? What's up with that? Why does it take so long? Why can't we get to a root cause? I've been in many war rooms where it's a fairly chaotic environment of somebody's trying to orchestrate problem resolution. All the different siloed teams say, hey, it's not me. My indicators are all green. It might be that guy over there, right? Or vendor A says, hey, it's not us. It might be vendor B over there. So part of this concept around the taxonomy that I'm going to introduce has to do with the fact that we are dealing with a huge amount of complexity. We've got hybrid networking, we've got multi-vendor, we've got multi-cloud, we've got application stacks of every possible variety. And that is part of the reason why it takes so long. But the other kind of unpleasant truth is the fact that there's a certain lack of preparation when we're engaged to do troubleshooting as IT practitioners. In some cases, like if I'm on site with a customer when I was doing performance consulting, and we're in the middle of that person's trying to do some troubleshooting, and if that person asks the question, hey, what's the IP address for that server, and can we see it in our tools? If I hear that, then I know there's going to be a long night. It's a lot of uphill because we're simply not prepared for that particular application. So to kind of address the complexity and to help be more prepared from a process perspective, we've put together a troubleshooting taxonomy where we're trying to create a common language and a transparent ecosystem where we can really map out and tie together symptoms, with conditions, with investigations and data sources. And we're gonna drill into that in just a second. And I'm gonna lay that as a foundation, and then I'm gonna turn it over to Vince to talk about how this process, which is a manual process today, what are some of the elements of advanced analytics that could help speed this up? So what I'm about to show you is a little bit of work in progress, and I'm absolutely very much appreciative of any thoughts and ideas after this session, if you guys have any thoughts and ideas on this approach. So in terms of the taxonomy, what we're doing is we're cataloging different types of information, starting with symptoms and conditions, the causes that create those, the investigations that are typically required to uncover those causes, who are the teams that need to get involved to do those investigations, and what are the devices and the domains, as well as the tools and the data in a given customer environment that are required in order to make all of this work as quickly as possible. And the goal is, as we catalog these things, we get to a point where we can sort of pre-plan for a given application. What's the most effective way to troubleshoot this application? What would, given a certain symptom, what would we investigate first? What would we investigate second? What might we do in parallel, right? If we're thinking ahead into automation, could we fire off multiple investigations in parallel that are relevant and gathering the data that we need in order to get to a root cause as quickly as possible? So what I'm going to do is just kind of share with you quickly some screenshots of the underlying components of each of these categories. So it's a pretty simple structure at the moment. If you've done any data modeling, it's pretty much just categorizing at this point and creating lists of things that fall into these different categories. So for symptoms, what might users report? Or in the case where we're getting proactive alerts. So instead of, and this is good to have a tool proactively alert me to a condition that's occurring before we start to get calls from users, what are these early warning signs, as well as what users might report? So we've started to catalog all of these out. And then what are the typical causes that would lead to those conditions and those symptoms? And those causes don't just pop out all by themselves. There has to be some way to get to those causes. And that's where the investigations come in. And this is where there's a blend between what is the available data, how's the instrumentation deployed in the enterprise environment, in this complex hybrid cloud, on-prem, other technology partner systems, having to reach out to a business partner for data to complete a transaction, et cetera. What are the types of investigations that are fairly typical that tie to a particular set of causes that help you uncover those causes? So again, behind each one of these, you might expect to see a brief narrative to say, how do you do end user device health investigation? What are the elements you're looking for? What tools exist in the environment today? And what are the key attributes that you're pulling out? Or how would you do server health? Or how would you measure internet transit AS health, for example? So this is a complete list of well, I say complete, it's a growing list of investigations. And then where might you have to look? I mean, it is a complex environment. So VoIP has its own places where you would look. Virtual desktops have another place where you would look, the data center, the cloud, et cetera. And then what types of data might you need? Because each of our data sources only provides a piece of the puzzle. So, with packet data, you're going to get one view of network health and application health, but you really might need the SNMP data to understand which interface is the one that's actually dropping packets, or which QoS class is not provisioned properly, et cetera, or where might there be an MTU misconfiguration, et cetera. So to answer that question of why does it take so long and why is it so complex, just kind of doing our basic data collection that we've done to date. I mean, we're looking at 60 different symptoms and conditions that have roughly 25 causes. You might need to, depending on those symptoms and conditions, 29 different investigations that are unique, that each have different data that you would look at, different skills that you need to interpret that data, different teams that go after it, 32 different domains, 13 different types of tools and data. So this is part of the reason why it takes so long to do troubleshooting today. And there's clearly a move towards automation, towards doing this in a smarter fashion. A lot of that has to do with the state of the art of the tooling, but it also has to do with the state of art of the art of how we actually instrument the environment, and do we have the right instrumentation in the right place. And some of that is what we're going to get to in a minute. So this is the end of the first segment where we wanted to introduce this taxonomy. This is going to be kind of our launching point into the rest of the sessions for this afternoon. And I'd like to pause for questions before we move on to Vince.
I can throw one out for you if you like. So the thing I'm thinking about in this context is there's a lot of people who've gone out and figured out common issues, common problems, common domains, and so forth. And I'm watching this go through, and a lot of it seems pretty obvious and it's good information, but could you give us sort of a teaser as to how it gets integrated into Riverbed products and solutions? What might make it different from things that, system administration organizations may have done or so forth?
Sure.
So what does it all mean, Alfie, as it were?
Yeah, so part of it is, as a services organization where I work, so I'm in a separate business unit from product development. Part of our responsibility is to take requirements back to the product house and say, hey, here's what we're doing today with a little bit of brute force. What can you do from a feature function standpoint that can make this go faster and make it go easier? And some of this is what some of Vince is going to cover in his material. So Vince and I are going to be kind of tag teaming with Gwen on the next series of topics that kind of answer that question, Robert, if that helps. So when we get to the end, we are going to have some additional Q&A and would love your perspective on that bigger picture that we hope to present this afternoon.